I found out I was pregnant on a Thursday, 6 weeks after Richard's arrest, 4 weeks after the negative test that we thought meant the procedure had failed. I'd been feeling off for days, tired, nauseous in the mornings. But I'd convinced myself it was stress, everything we'd been through, the trial preparation, the media attention. Marcus had other ideas. Take another test, he said one morning, watching me push away breakfast I couldn't stomach. We already tested. It was negative. That was a month ago. Things change. Bodies change. He pulled a pregnancy test from his jacket pocket. Humor me. So I did. 3 minutes later, I was staring at two pink lines. Positive. I was pregnant, and we had no idea whose baby it was. Marcus held me for a long time after I showed him the test. Neither of us spoke. We just stood there in the bathroom, holding each other, processing what this meant. Finally, he pulled back. How do you feel? Terrified, happy, confused, all of it at once. Looked up at him. How do you feel? The same. But mostly, he touched my stomach gently, reverently, mostly grateful. This baby, whoever's DNA they carry, they're ours, Ava. Ours to love and protect and raise. That's all that matters. You really mean that? I really mean that. He kissed my forehead. But I need you to promise me something. What? Promise me you won't tell anyone else yet. Not about the uncertainty. Not about the donor. Not about any of it. His voice was urgent. Richard's lawyers are going to use anything they can find to paint us as frauds. If they find out about the IVF attempt, about the donor, they'll twist it. Make it seem like we were trying to cheat the contract even though the contract is void now. But we were trying to cheat it. For good reason. But they won't care about the reason. They'll just use it to destroy our credibility. He cupped my face. So we keep this private, between us. We tell people you're pregnant, yes, but the rest, the questions about paternity, that stays between you, me, and our doctor. It made sense, but something about it felt wrong. More secrets, I said quietly. More lies. Not lies, privacy. There's a difference. His eyes were pleading. Once the trial is over, once Richard is convicted, and this is truly behind us, we can figure out the paternity question privately. Get tested if you want. Or not. Whatever you decide. But until then, we protect ourselves. Protect this baby. Okay? I wanted to argue. Wanted to say we should be done with secrets and deception. But he was right. The trial was in 8 weeks. 8 weeks of scrutiny and questions, and Richard's lawyers are trying to tear us apart. We couldn't give them ammunition. Okay, I agreed. We keep it private. Thank you. He kissed me softly. Now, how about we celebrate? Go out to dinner. Announce to the world that we're having a baby? Marcus Harrington wants to celebrate? He smiled. I'm trying this new thing. It's called being happy. I'm not very good at it yet, but I'm learning. I laughed despite everything. Okay, let's celebrate. We went to the same restaurant where we'd had that first awkward dinner. The one where Marcus had sat 10 feet away and barely spoken to me. This time, he sat next to me, held my hand, looked at me like I was the only person in the room. To us, he said, raising his glass of water. I couldn't drink wine anymore. To the family we're building, to the future we're choosing. To surviving, I added, to more than surviving, to actually living. We clinked glasses. Around us, other diners talked and laughed, normal people with normal lives. For a moment, we got to pretend we were normal too. Then my phone rang. Diana Torres, I answered immediately. Diana, what's wrong? Nothing's wrong, but we need to talk. Richard's legal team just filed a motion. They're requesting genetic testing on the baby. My blood went cold. What? Marcus leaned in, listening. His face had gone pale. They're arguing that the child's paternity is relevant to the case, Diana continued. That if the baby isn't Marcus's biological child, it proves you were attempting to defraud the original contract, which supports Richard's claims about your character and credibility. But the contract is void. Richard's going to prison. Why does any of this matter? Because his lawyers are trying to create a reasonable doubt. If they can prove you were willing to lie about something as fundamental as paternity, they can argue Richard was justified in his suspicions and actions. It's a reach, but it's a clever one. Marcus grabbed the phone from me. Diana, this is Marcus. Can they actually force genetic testing? Not on the baby, not yet, but they can subpoena medical records from the clinic. And if those records show you attempted IVF with a donor, she paused. It gets complicated. How complicated? Complicated enough that I need you both in my office first thing tomorrow. We need to strategize, figure out how to handle this before it becomes a media circus. Marcus's hand was shaking. Okay, tomorrow. We'll be there. He hung up. We sat in silence for a moment. The celebration was over. They're going to find out, I whispered. About the clinic, about everything. Maybe. But even if they do, we have a defense. We were acting under duress. Richard was threatening us. We did what we had to do to survive. He squeezed my hand. Diana will handle it. And if she can't? He looked at me with something fierce in his eyes. Then I'll handle it. Whatever it takes, Ava. I'm not letting them hurt you or this baby. I don't care whose DNA is involved. This child is mine, ours, and I'll burn down anyone who tries to say otherwise. I'd never seen him like this, not cold like before, not controlled, just absolutely certain, protective in a way that was almost frightening. Marcus, I mean it. His voice was steel. I've lost too much already. My mother, Sophia, Emma. I'm not losing this. I'm not losing you. So whatever Richard's lawyers try, whatever they dig up, whatever they throw at us, I'm fighting back with everything I have. We met with Diana the next morning. She had news. None of it is good. Richard's lawyers are better than I expected. They've already found evidence of your clinic visits. They have dates, times, and medical intake forms. She spread papers across her desk. They're going to argue that you attempted to defraud the contract by using a donor. And if the baby is the donor's, they'll argue the fraud was successful. But the contract was signed under duress, I said. Everything Richard did was illegal. Yes, but the law is messy. Just because Richard's actions were wrong doesn't automatically make your response legal. Two wrongs don't equal a right in court. Diana leaned back. Here's our best defense. We argue necessity, that you believed your lives were in danger, that the donor conception was an act of self-preservation, not fraud. It's not perfect, but it might work. And if it doesn't, Marcus asked, then we're looking at potential charges, conspiracy to commit fraud, maybe more. She held up a hand before Marcus could explode. I'm not saying it'll happen. I'm saying we need to be prepared, which means we need to know what we're defending. She looked at me directly. Is the baby Marcus's or the donor's? The question hung in the air. We don't know, I admitted. The timing was close. It could be either. Diana closed her eyes briefly. Of course it could. When she opened them, she was all business. Okay, here's what we do. We refuse the genetic testing on the grounds of medical privacy and the baby's rights. We argue that paternity is irrelevant to Richard's criminal trial, which it is, and we hope the judge agrees. And if the judge doesn't, Marcus asked, then we get the test done privately before they can subpoena it. That way we know what we're dealing with before it becomes public record. She looked between us. But you need to decide now if you want to know, because once we open that door, you can't close it. I looked at Marcus. He looked at me. What do you want? He asked quietly. I don't know. Part of me wants to know, needs to know, but part of me is terrified that knowing will change everything. I put my hand on my stomach. What if it's the donor's baby? What if you look at them and can't help but see that? Can't help but feel like they're not really yours? That won't happen. How can you be sure? Because I've already decided. His voice was firm. This baby is mine. I don't care about DNA. I don't care about genetics. The moment you told me you were pregnant, they became mine. My child, my responsibility, my future. He took my hand. So, if you want to know for your own peace of mind, we'll find out. But if you'd rather not know, if you'd rather raise this child without that question hanging over us, I'm okay with that too. You're really okay not knowing. I'm really okay loving them regardless. He smiled slightly. My mother used to say that biology is just the starting point, that real parenthood is showing up every day, choosing to love someone even when it's hard, especially when it's hard. So no, I don't need a DNA test to tell me I'm this baby's father. I already know I am. I was crying, happy tears, grateful tears. I don't want to know, I said. Not right now. Maybe not ever. I just want to be pregnant, to be happy about it, to not let Richard steal this from us, too. Diana nodded. Then we fight the testing, and we prepare for whatever they throw at us next. What about the trial? Marcus asked. How does this affect it? It muddies the water, makes the jury question your motives and credibility. But it doesn't change the fundamentals. Richard still committed to extortion, still blackmailed your father, still made illegal threats. We just need to make sure the jury sees him as the villain, not you. She started gathering papers. The trial starts in 6 weeks. Between now and then, you two need to be perfect. No scandals, no surprises, no giving Richard's lawyers any more ammunition. We can do that, Marcus said. But even as he said it, I had a feeling he was wrong, because perfect was impossible, and surprises were just getting started. The first surprise came 3 days later. Sophia showed up at the house, unannounced, desperate. I need your help, she said the moment I opened the door. Sophia, what's wrong? Richard's lawyers contacted me. They want me to testify about Emma, about the pregnancy, about everything. She was shaking. They're going to use my dead daughter to destroy you. And I can't let that happen. I pulled her inside. Slow down. What exactly did they say? They know about Emma, about how she was conceived before the contract deadline, about how your father-in-law paid me to disappear. She collapsed onto the couch. They want me to testify that Marcus knew about the pregnancy, that he was complicit in hiding it, that everything he's said about being a victim is a lie. But that's not true. Marcus didn't know. I know that. You know that. But they're going to twist my testimony. Make it sound like Marcus was in on it, like the entire Harrington family has a history of deception around children and contracts. Her eyes were desperate. If I testify, I destroy you. If I refuse, they'll subpoena me. I don't know what to do. Marcus appeared in the doorway. He'd been upstairs working. You tell the truth, he said simply. Sophia looked up at him. Marcus, you tell the truth, that my father paid you off, that I didn't know, that you lost Emma and it wasn't your fault. He sat down across from her. And if Richard's lawyers try to twist your words, our lawyers will untwist them. But you don't lie for us, Sophia, and you don't carry this guilt. What happened to Emma wasn't your fault. It was my father's and Richard's and maybe mine for not fighting harder for you back then. But it wasn't yours. She was crying now. I'm so sorry for all of it, for leaving, for not telling you, for coming back into your life and making everything worse. You didn't make anything worse. You survived. That's all any of us are trying to do. He glanced at me. Tell Diana about the subpoena. She'll help you prepare. She'll make sure your testimony helps instead of hurts. You're really not angry? I'm not angry. I'm tired. Tired of Richard controlling our lives even from jail. Tired of everyone using Emma's memory as a weapon. Tired of pretending any of this is okay. He stood. But I'm not angry at you. You're a victim in this too. So let us help you. Please? Sophia nodded, wiping her eyes. Okay, thank you. After she left, Marcus turned to me. This is going to get worse before it gets better, he said, quietly. I know. Richard's lawyers are going to dig up everything, every secret, every mistake, every moment of weakness. He pulled me close. And I need you to promise me something. What? That no matter what they find, no matter what they say about me or my family, you won't leave. You won't decide I'm not worth the fight. His voice cracked slightly. Because I'm going to need you, Ava, more than I've ever needed anyone. And I'm terrified that this trial is going to show you sides of me, sides of my family, that will make you run. I'm not going to run. You might want to. Then I'll want to and stay anyway. I touched his face. That's what love is, Marcus. It's wanting to run and choosing to stay. It's seeing the worst parts of someone and loving them anyway. So, whatever comes out in that trial, whatever they say about you or your father or the Harrington family, I'm staying. Got it? He kissed me, desperate and grateful and scared. Got it, he whispered. The trial started on a Monday. The courthouse was packed. Media everywhere. People who wanted to see the mighty Harrington Empire finally face justice. People who wanted to watch Richard Castellano get what he deserved. It felt like a circus. Marcus and I sat behind Diana. His hand never left mine. His grip was so tight it hurt, but I didn't pull away. The prosecution went first. They laid out Richard's crimes methodically. The blackmail, the extortion, the threats, the illegal surveillance. It was damning, clear, obvious. Then Richard's lawyers stood up, and they told a different story. Ladies and gentlemen of the jury, the defense attorney began, what you're seeing here isn't a criminal harassing an innocent family. What you're seeing is a businessman trying to enforce a legal contract that the Harrington family signed willingly and then attempted to defraud. He pulled out documents, evidence, photos of Marcus and me at the fertility clinic, medical records showing the donor consultation, testimony from the clinic staff about our unusual request for non-genetic conception. The Harringtons want you to believe they're victims, the lawyer continued. But the evidence shows they're manipulators, liars. People are willing to create a fake child to cheat a contract they found inconvenient. Marcus's grip tightened. They'll tell you Mr. Castellano was blackmailing them, but all he was doing was trying to enforce an agreement their own father made, an agreement Marcus Harrington inherited and accepted when he took over the family business. The lawyer turned to the jury. So, yes, Mr. Castellano used strong tactics. He monitored the Harringtons, he kept evidence, he held them accountable. But that's not illegal. That's just business. And the fact that the Harringtons don't like being held accountable doesn't make it a crime. He sat down. The courtroom was silent. Diana leaned back to whisper to us, "Don't panic. This is their opening. We knew they'd spin it this way. Our turn comes later." But I was panicking because looking at the jury's faces, I could see doubt. They weren't sure who the villain was anymore. And neither was I. The trial lasted 3 weeks. 3 weeks of testimony, evidence, lawyers arguing, witnesses being torn apart on the stand. Sophia testified. She told the truth about Emma, about Marcus's father, about being paid to disappear. Richard's lawyers tried to twist it, but Diana was good. She made sure the jury understood Sophia was a victim, not a conspirator. Marcus testified. He explained the blackmail, the threats, the impossible position Richard had put us in. He was calm, controlled, sympathetic. But then Richard's lawyer got him on cross-examination. "Mr. Harrington, you claim you were forced into attempting IVF with a donor. But isn't it true that you and your wife were already living as a married couple? Sharing a bedroom? Being intimate?" "Yes." "So, the natural option was available to you. You could have simply conceived a child the normal way, but you didn't. You chose deception instead. Why?" Marcus hesitated, just for a second, but the jury noticed. "I wanted to protect my wife from being used." "By conceiving a child that wasn't yours? How does that protect her?" The lawyer leaned in. "Or were you trying to protect yourself? Trying to keep Richard Castellano from getting what your father promised him?" "I was trying to survive. By lying. By cheating. By doing exactly what you're accusing Mr. Castellano of. Manipulating situations to get what you want." The lawyer turned to the jury. "The only difference is, Mr. Castellano, was enforcing a contract. You were breaking one." Diana objected. The judge sustained. But the damage was done. The jury was looking at Marcus differently, like maybe he wasn't the hero after all. Then it was my turn to testify. I told our story, the arranged marriage, the loneliness, the contract I signed to save Marcus, the choice to use IVF as a way to protect both of us. Diana guided me through it carefully, made sure I came across as sympathetic, human. Then Richard's lawyer stood up for cross-examination. "Mrs. Harrington, you're currently pregnant, correct?" "Yes." "And you testified that you attempted IVF with a donor approximately 6 weeks before learning of the pregnancy?" "Yes." "So, the baby you're carrying could be either the donor's child or your husband's child, correct?" My mouth went dry. "We don't know." "You don't know. Interesting." He smiled. "Have you taken a paternity test?" "No." "Why not?" "Because it doesn't matter whose genetic material the baby carries. It's our child either way." "Doesn't matter." His eyebrows shot up. "You attempted to conceive a child specifically to avoid fulfilling a contract based on genetic lineage. And now you're saying genetics don't matter?" "I'm saying love matters, Family matters. Choice matters. DNA is just evidence, which is what this trial is about, Mrs. Harrington. Evidence. Facts. Not feelings. He turned to the jury. The fact is, you don't know whose baby you're carrying because you were willing to deceive everyone, including possibly your own husband, to get what you wanted. That's not true, isn't it? You signed a contract knowing you'd try to cheat it. You underwent a medical procedure specifically designed to avoid genetic accountability. And now you're carrying a child whose paternity is so uncertain that you refuse to test it. He paused for effect. That's not love, Mrs. Harrington. That's manipulation. I wanted to argue, to defend myself, but anything I said would just make it worse. Diana redirected, helped me clarify, made sure the jury understood I'd been acting under duress. But I could see it in their faces. They were judging me, questioning everything. And I realized Richard might actually win, not because he was innocent, but because we'd played his game, used his tactics, became exactly what he accused us of being: manipulators, liars, people willing to do anything to get what we wanted. The only difference was our intentions were good. But did intentions matter if the actions were the same? The verdict came on a Friday. The jury deliberated for 12 hours. Marcus and I waited in a small room with Diana, not talking, just holding hands, praying. When the bailiff finally called us back, I thought I might throw up. We stood as the jury filed in. None of them looked at us. That was supposedly a bad sign. The judge asked for the verdict. The jury foreman stood. On the count of extortion, we find the defendant guilty. I exhaled. Marcus's hand crushed mine. On the count of blackmail, we find the defendant guilty. More relief, more hope. On the count of illegal surveillance, we find the defendant guilty. Richard's face was stone. His lawyers were already whispering about appeals. But it was over. Richard Castellano was guilty. The contract was void. The threats were over. We were finally free. The judge set sentencing for 2 weeks later. Richard was taken into custody immediately. As they led him away, he looked at Marcus and smiled. That terrible, knowing smile, like he'd lost the battle but won some deeper war, like he knew something we didn't. And I realized with a chill, this wasn't over. We went home exhausted. The media was everywhere. Cameras, questions, congratulations mixed with accusations. Diana fielded most of it, gave a statement about justice being served, about the Harrington family finally being free to live their lives. But I didn't feel free. I felt hollow. Is it really over? I asked Marcus that night. We were in bed, too tired to celebrate, too wired to sleep. It's over. Richard's going to prison. The contract is void. We won. He pulled me closer. We actually won, Ava. Then why don't I feel like we won? He was quiet for a long moment. Because winning doesn't erase what we lost. My mother, Emma, the years I spent being someone I hated, the things we did to survive. He touched my stomach gently. But we have this now, the future, the baby, each other. That's our prize, not the verdict, this. You're right. I turned to face him. So what do we do now? How do we actually live now that we're free to? Honestly, I have no idea. I've spent my entire adult life in survival mode, planning, strategizing, fighting. He smiled slightly. Being happy is going to take practice. Then, let's practice together. Deal. We kissed, soft and slow, not desperate like before, just present, alive, free. For the first time in our entire relationship, we had nothing to fight against. No contracts, no threats, no deadlines. Just us and the life we were choosing. It should have been perfect. And for one beautiful moment, it was. Then my phone rang. Diana, at midnight. That was never good. Ava, she said when I answered. Her voice was shaking. You need to turn on the news. Now. What? Why? Just turn it on. I fumbled for the remote, turned on the TV, and felt my entire world shatter. The headline scrolled across the bottom of the screen. Breaking. Richard Castellano found dead in holding cell. Apparent suicide. Left note claiming explosive evidence against Harrington family to be released posthumously. Marcus sat up beside me, his face white. What evidence? I whispered into the phone. Diana, what evidence? I don't know, but his lawyers are saying it's big. Career ending, maybe criminal. She paused. They're scheduling a press conference for tomorrow morning. Whatever Richard had, we're about to find out. She hung up. Marcus and I stared at each other. Richard was dead, but his revenge was just beginning. That's where I'm stopping today. We thought we'd won, thought we were finally free, thought the nightmare was over. We were wrong. Richard Castellano spent his entire life planning his revenge, and death doesn't stop a plan 20 years in the making. What evidence did he leave behind? What secrets about the Harrington family are about to be exposed? And more importantly, will Marcus and Ava survive what's coming? Drop a comment with where you're watching from and tell me, do you think Richard really killed himself? Or is something even more sinister going on? Because what happens next will test everything Marcus and Ava have built. And this time, there might not be a way out.